He was just a grease-covered mechanic collapsing from exhaustion. But when the heiress of $1 billion empire knelt beside him and whispered, "Don't leave me," everything in his world turned upside down. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked pavement outside Reed's auto garage, a rust-stained little shop wedged between a laundromat and an abandoned warehouse. Inside, the air was thick with oil, sweat, and desperation. Caleb Reed, 32, lay half-buried under the hood of a sputtering BMW, hands blistered, shirt soaked through. He hadn't taken a break in 14 hours. Again, every job mattered. Every dollar counted. His younger brother's medical bills were stacking up at home, and Caleb hadn't paid rent in 2 months. He was barely surviving, but he didn't complain. That wasn't his style. Outside, a sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up and parked awkwardly near the garage. The door opened, and out stepped Savannah Hale, 25, the heiress to Hale Motors, a company that sold thousands of luxury cars every year, none of which Caleb had ever touched. She wore designer boots, a cashmere coat, and oversized sunglasses. The streets weren't her usual scene, but desperation brought her here. Her car had stalled 3 blocks away, and the assistant who was supposed to meet her never showed. She needed help. And this garage was the only one in sight. Inside, Caleb grunted as he rolled out from under the car, trying to ignore the growing dizziness in his chest. The pain had been growing for days, tightening like a vice. But when Savannah walked in, the bright sunlight behind her cast a sharp silhouette. Caleb squinted through the haze of exhaustion and grime, blinking in confusion. Can I help you?" he rasped. Savannah stepped inside cautiously, glancing around the cluttered shop. "My car broke down, just a few blocks away. I don't know who else to call. The driver's gone. Can you come?" Caleb nodded weakly, grabbing his tool bag. He didn't care who she was. A car was a car. 10 minutes later, Caleb crouched beside the Rolls-Royce, working through a wave of chest pressure and blurred vision. "Just push through," he told himself. "Almost done." Savannah watched from a few feet away, arms folded, chewing her lip nervously. He moved slower, his breaths shallowed. Suddenly, Caleb's hands slipped from the open hood, his body folding forward onto the car's floor. He collapsed, hard, face down, unmoving. Savannah screamed and rushed to his side, dropping to her knees on the hot pavement. Hey, are you okay? Caleb, please, wake up!" She turned him over, trembling. His face was pale, his pulse faint. For a moment, everything, the cars, the money, the name, vanished from Savannah's mind. She was just a terrified girl kneeling beside a stranger who didn't deserve to die on a street because he worked too hard and mattered too little. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She grabbed his hand tightly, her voice breaking. "Don't leave me! Please! Don't you dare leave me!" And Caleb, slipping in and out of darkness, heard it. Not clearly. Not fully. But the warmth of her hand, the panic in her voice, it reached a place in him that had gone cold long ago. He had no idea who this woman really was. And she had no idea that saving him in that moment would unravel secrets, shatter assumptions, and change both of their lives forever. The ambulance arrived within minutes. Savannah rode beside Caleb, still clutching his hand, ignoring the confused looks of the paramedics. She didn't care if they knew who she was. All that mattered was that this man, who had given everything for everyone but himself, was still breathing. At the hospital, doctors confirmed it was a cardiac stress collapse. Severe exhaustion, dehydration, and untreated high blood pressure had taken their toll. If he hadn't collapsed when he did, the outcome might have been much worse. Savannah sat in the hallway for hours, coat discarded, makeup smudged, refusing to leave. She didn't even know his last name yet. Later that evening, Caleb woke up in a quiet hospital room, blinking against the dim light. His body ached, but more than that, he felt embarrassed. He'd passed out in front of a stranger. He had needed help. To a man like Caleb, that felt like failure. Then the door creaked open, and Savannah stepped inside. Holding 2 coffees, wearing a sweatshirt now, looking nothing like the heiress he didn't know she was. "Hey," she said, offering a cautious smile. Caleb tried to sit up but winced. She rushed forward. "Easy, you've been out all day." He eyed her warily. "You stayed?" "Of course I did." She sat down, placing one of the coffees on the table beside him. "You scared me back there." He let out a dry chuckle. "Sorry, didn't mean to make your day worse." "Actually," she said softly, "you made it better." They talked, just talked. Not about his garage, not about her last name, about life, siblings, pressure, pride. Caleb told her about his younger brother, how their parents died in a fire when they were teens, how he gave up college to raise him, how the garage was all they had. Savannah listened without judgment, eyes wide with quiet awe. She told him about the loneliness of penthouses, the weight of expectations, the way money didn't always mean meaning. For a while, they weren't mechanic and heiress. They were just 2 people who carried the world quietly and alone. The next morning, Savannah's driver finally showed up. She gave him instructions, then turned back toward Caleb's room. Before she could open the door, she heard a nurse ask a question inside. "Any family you want us to call?" A pause. Then Caleb's tired voice. "No." "No one else coming?" Savannah's throat tightened. That night, she made a decision. She wasn't just going to say thank you and disappear. Not this time. Because beneath the grease and exhaustion, Savannah had seen something no boardroom ever gave her: loyalty without agenda, sacrifice without praise, strength without armor. And in that hospital bed, Caleb Reed had no idea. The woman sitting beside him held the keys to an empire, and she was about to use them to change his life in a way he never saw coming. 2 days later, Caleb was discharged from the hospital, though the doctor warned him sternly to rest for at least a week. Of course, rest was a luxury Caleb couldn't afford, not with the bills that came with an ambulance ride, a hospital stay, and a business already on the brink. He returned to Reed's auto garage just before sunset, limping slightly, finding the garage just as he left it. Cluttered, quiet, loyal to no one but him. Except this time, someone was already waiting. Savannah sat on the hood of her now-repaired Rolls-Royce, sipping coffee with 2 pastries beside her. He blinked in disbelief. "You again?" he asked, half smiling. "I figured you'd gone back to your mansion or yacht or whatever rich people do after saving broke mechanics." She raised an eyebrow, grinning. "You're not wrong about the mansion, but I prefer garages now." Caleb chuckled, then hesitated. "Seriously, though, you've done enough. I can't ask for more." Savannah slid off the hood, brushing her hands together. "Good, because I'm not here to offer. I'm here to tell you something." She walked past him and stepped inside the garage, her eyes scanning the dust, the half-finished jobs, the decades-old posters on the walls. "Caleb, my last name is Hale, as in Hale Motors?" Caleb froze. "Wait, like Hale Motors, as in the luxury car empire?" She nodded. "My father built it. I inherited it." He stared at her, stunned. "You're that Savannah Hale?" "Guilty." He paced, rubbing the back of his neck. "So, what? You're here to write a check or buy me out?" She shook her head. "Number, I'm here because I want to give you something I never had growing up, despite all the money in the world. A choice." From her bag, She pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to him. Inside were legal partnership papers, investment contracts, transfer documents. At the top, Reed Hale Automotive Ventures, a new company, his name first. She wasn't buying him out. She was making him an equal. Caleb, this shop, it has something my father's empire never did. It has you, and people like you, people who know what it means to show up for others when it costs everything, deserve more than praise. They deserve power. They deserve to build something bigger. Caleb was speechless. Why me? She smiled gently. Because you didn't let me walk away scared. Because you'd rather die under a car than disappoint the people who count on you. Because I trust you. He stared down at the documents, hands trembling. Not from fear, but from the weight of being seen, really seen, for the first time. Savannah stepped closer. Say yes, and tomorrow you're not just fixing cars. You're helping design the first affordable Hale hybrid line, under your name. You'll have a full team, benefits, equity. You'll be CEO of the shop and partner of something that changes lives. Caleb swallowed hard. You serious? Dead serious. You really think a grease-stained mechanic can run a company? No, she said, grinning. I think a tired, brave, brilliant man who never gave up can do anything. And just like that, the man who passed out on a car floor 2 nights ago was about to become the face of a company that would rewrite the rules. But with new power comes new pressure. And not everyone in Savannah's world would accept a mechanic in a CEO's seat. The storm was coming. And together, they'd have to weather it, or risk losing everything before it began. The headlines hit before the ink dried. Heiress hands over company share to grease monkey. From oil stains to office suites, mechanic becomes CEO overnight. Hale Motors wild gamble shocks board, investors demand answers. Savannah had expected pushback. She didn't expect war. The board of Hale Motors, a collection of polished suits and family friends, launched immediate objections. They called Caleb underqualified, unrefined, a liability. They demanded Savannah reverse the decision or risk losing her stake. She stood firm. But Caleb? Caleb had never stood in front of a boardroom, never written a press release, never been insulted in a language meant to disguise cruelty as concern. You sure I'm worth all this? He asked Savannah late one night, slouched in a leather chair he never felt he belonged in. You're not just worth it, she said, placing a hand on his. You're needed. And when Caleb was invited, reluctantly, to his first press event as co-founder of Reed Hale Ventures, he didn't show up in a suit. He wore jeans, a black work shirt, boots scarred from years of labor, and he stood at the podium with calloused hands, grease still under one nail, and said, I may not know stock reports or marketing speak, but I know how to show up. I know how to build something with my hands and give a damn when it falls apart. If that makes me unfit, fine. But I think the world's had enough CEOs who forgot what real work looks like. The room went still, then thundered with applause. Investors began calling, not because of Savannah's name, but because Caleb's words hit like truth in a world full of spin. Within a year, Reed Hale Ventures opened its first flagship shop, offering fair-cost hybrid repairs, training programs for ex-mechanics and at-risk youth, and even health coverage for workers. Caleb ran the garage side. Savannah ran the corporate, but they met in the middle, every single day. One quiet afternoon, as the two of them toured the newly built training center, Savannah lingered in the empty hallway and turned to Caleb. Remember when I found you lying beside my car? He grinned. Hard to forget. I told you not to leave me. You didn't let me. They stood silently for a moment before Caleb said softly, You didn't just pull me off that street, Savannah. You gave me something I didn't know I needed. A chance? No. You. A black and white photo now hangs in the entrance of every Reed Hale center. Caleb in coveralls, standing beside Savannah in a hoodie, holding a wrench and a clipboard. The caption reads, "Power means nothing if you don't use it to lift someone else." Because in the end, a billionaire heiress didn't just change a mechanic's life. She gave the world a new blueprint for leadership. And in return, he reminded her what real legacy looks like.